For this next problem, 180 and 5 are not perfect squares, but I recognize that 5 will divide evenly into both of them, so I'm going to go ahead and take out a GCF of 5 before I even take another look at this. So pulling out of 5, I have 36x squared minus 1 is equal to 0. And now I recognize that I have perfect squares. 36 is a perfect square, 1 is a perfect square, and of course x squared is a perfect square. So 36x squared is going to give me my a term. A is equal to the square root of 36x squared, which is 6x. So I can go ahead and write parentheses with a 6x at the front of each of them. And I'll go ahead and bring my 5 down as well right now. Let's go ahead and take a look at the b term. I have a 1 here, so that means that b is equal to the square root of 1, which is 1. 1's go in the front of each parentheses, or I'm sorry, in the back of each parentheses, 1 with a positive, 1 with a negative. Now, we want to go ahead and divide the 5 on both sides in order to move it to the right, but 0 divided by 5 just gives me a 0. Let's set our pieces equal to 0 using zero product property. 6x minus 1 equals 0, or 6x plus 1 equals 0. Now I solve each of my algebra equations. I add 1 to both sides to move the negative 1 to the right, and that leaves me with x, or 6x is equal to 1, and dividing each side by 6, I end up with x is equal to positive 1/6. On the other side, I'm going to do the opposite and end up with the opposite answer. I'm subtracting 1, still dividing by 6, but I'm going to end up with a negative 1/6. Go ahead and pause the video here and try number 8 on your own. Come back to see how you did on this final problem. Let's go over the last problem. The first thing I noticed is that it is not in the form of a squared minus b squared. The first thing I need to do is move the negative 54 to the left-hand side, and I still notice that these are not perfect squares, but I can take out a 6 as a greatest common factor, and then I have the perfect squares of 4x squared and 9. Identifying my a value to be 2x and my b value to be 3, I can write my factored form here, remembering to bring down the 6, but then the 6 gets divided out and the right-hand side is still 0 because 0 divided by 6 is equal to 0. Now I can take each of my pieces and set them equal to 0. The first parentheses, 2x minus 3. The second parentheses, 2x plus 3. I'm going to add 3 to both sides and divide by 2 to get x is equal to 3 over 2. On the right, I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides and divide by 2 to get x is equal to negative 3 over 2.